As I'm sure you know, FIFA covers the majority of teams and leagues that people would want to use in career mode, from the Champions League to the English 4th Division League 2, but there are still some massive clubs that are missing from the game. Today, I'll be creating them in career mode and showing you exactly how you can recreate them easily on your saves too. Before we start creating, let's have a quick look and figure out which teams and leagues are actually missing. From around the world, you've got Croatia, Russia, Mexico and Japan that all had leagues on FIFA in the past but now no longer do. These are really good places to start, but we won't be ignoring North Africa or the Middle East either. So let's get started. I'll be making them on screen while telling you everything you need to know about every single team. Serbian football has never been on FIFA. This means teams like Partizan Belgrade, who are one of the most old and successful clubs in Serbia, have never been usable. They'll be the first team that we're creating today though. With 27 domestic league titles, the club has a massive fan base and a really big rivalry with Red Star Belgrade. Partizan's biggest success was reaching the European Cup final in 1966, where unfortunately they lost to Real Madrid. The club aims to continue to try and compete for more domestic titles in real life and maybe make a return to European glory. Partizan Belgrade are now more of a Europa League level side though, so I'd recommend making them around 3 stars and filling their squad with mostly Serbian players. I'm not sure which league you should really be adding them to, but it might be interesting to maybe create an Eastern European Super League with the best teams from Croatia, Serbia and Romania all playing together in the same league. Hopefully that isn't too controversial for me to say. Something I know isn't controversial is recognizing that Mexico is probably the biggest league to leave FIFA in the past few seasons. I was actually quite disappointed when it got removed, as it left the MLS as the only North American league back in FIFA. We'll be creating Chivas Guadalajara today, and they have a unique policy of only allowing Mexican players to play for their first team. With 12 domestic league titles to their name, Chivas is a really strong force in Mexican football. Nearly a quarter of the Mexican public support them in some way, but unfortunately can't play with them on FIFA 23. It's hard to know which league to put them in, but I'd say replacing a random MLS team would probably be the most interesting way to use them. If you'd rather play in a Continental Cup, you could actually put them in Argentina as well, but I think the MLS is just overall better. With a strong commitment with their unique policy and a focus on developing Mexican talent, I don't think you need to make them too good, just go for around the average rating of the standard MLS team, so between 3 and 4 stars. With a bit of development, I think Chivas could easily become the Bilbao of North America. While Chivas have that policy to keep their team homegrown, one team that doesn't care about homegrown at all is Vissel Kobe. They're a relatively new club based in Japan, founded only in 1995. While they've never won the domestic league title, they've only won their cup one time. I'm sure you know all about them. Probably because they signed legendary footballers Andres Iniesta, but they've also had David Villa, Lucas Podolski and Thomas Vermaelen playing for them in the Japanese league as well. Kobe's main aim is to try and become one of the top clubs in Asia and continue attracting really good talents from Europe. I think you need to create a 2-star team with a pretty big transfer budget and throw the team in either Korea or China, because unfortunately the Japanese league was also removed this year, just like the Mexican league. I think you should set yourself the target of always having at least 3 players who are rated over 80 rating, but also try and keep as much of the squad Japanese as possible. With a strong focus on building their reputation and attracting these top players, I think Vissel Kobe can finally win their first championship with you as their manager. If you're more interested in a team that's won a ton of championships, how about one that's won 43 domestic league titles and 10 African Champions League titles? We're going to be heading to Northern Africa, where now we're going to be creating the Egyptian champions Ahly. They're the most successful club in Egypt, as you can probably imagine, and they're also known as the club of the century due to their amazing success in the past 100 years. Ahly's aim is to try and continue their dominance in Egypt and win a few more African titles. Annoyingly, there is no African leagues we can actually put them in FIFA. I think the closest league, both geographically and culturally, is probably the Saudi League, so it's the most realistic to sort of add them in there. With a strong history and a really loyal fan base, I think Ahly is in a really good position to become Saudi champions year after year. But of course, you will have a bunch of other teams in this league who have a lot of money and a lot of very good players if you can somehow update them with the likes of Benzema, Kante and Ronaldo. Finally, we're going to be ending the video with a team I have no idea which league they need to go in. Persepolis is one of the most successful football clubs in Iran, with 14 Iranian domestic league titles. The club was the third Iranian club to reach the Asian Champions League final in 2018, where they lost to Japan's Kashima Antlers. But Persepolis' aim is to try and compete for more domestic titles and return and finally win Iran its first ever Champions League final. With no neighbouring leagues though, no national team, and an unscoutable youth nation, I think playing in Iran could be really challenging. You can just about make a full team of Iranians with the players that start off on FIFA 23, so I'd recommend placing Persepolis in an Asian league and trying to sign as many homegrown Iranian players as you possibly can. You might be wondering why they even made this list with the amount of cons that I've just said. Well, they have a record attendance of 128,000 fans. Persepolis are one of the most supported teams in the world, so I think this qualifies them as one of the biggest clubs to never feature on FIFA, and definitely is not in FIFA 23. Hopefully at least one of the teams we've talked about today is exactly what you're looking for in your next save. I think they're all super well supported, they all have loads of history you can recreate, and they're all from very interesting football crazy nations. If you want to see a save I did in the Asian Champions League, click the playlist right here, and if you're interested in more FIFA 23 content, click on the video that's on the screen right now. Thank you for watching all the way to the end of the video, I really appreciate it. Cheers and goodbye.